we're coming into fall, and I want to just talk to you about diet without being controversial. I know there's a carnivore diet and a vegan diet, which couldn't be further from opposites. And the keto diet, low lectin diets, which is based on a plant paradox. And I'm telling you from my own experience treating patients, my understanding of the medical literature, what is kind of general recommendations. And I'm not going to talk about like the carnivore diet because it's really not been studied much. I'm not going to talk about veganism because it's not really adhered to by many people, and it's controversial as well. But we find that the diet associated with most health and wellness is the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet describes a diet that's found in the Mediterranean, Italy and Greece, where we see low rates of cardiovascular disease, more longevity, low rates of inflammation. The Mediterranean diet principally is, number one, processed foods is not much part of the Mediterranean diet. There is certainly some grains and breads. One of the common breads being sourdough bread, which is different than regular bread. The way it's made is bacteria versus fungus. That seems to have less of a glucose bump. It's not necessarily good bread, but it's less of a, say, bad bread. It has less of a glucose spike. Grains, vegetables, fruits, and lower doses of meat. Now again, this makes the carnivore keto maybe mindset a little offset, but we can say for population studies, there's really not a population study of the carnivore diet, and the keto diets have been done both Mediterranean keto and non-Mediterranean keto do show some benefits in both directions. It's very hard to adhere to a ketogenic diet for the most part, and I'm not convinced based on the literature that is the healthiest diet to use, even though short term it may be beneficial for weight loss and inflammation. So Mediterranean diet, we recommend this to our patients that are working on weight loss. It is the most effective. It's more consistent than any other diet. The use of extra virgin olive oil does favor weight loss, health benefits, and lower cardiovascular risk. And I want to tell you, extra virgin olive oil, there's a lot of fraud in extra virgin olive oil. There's countries that bastardize it with canola oil or different vegetables oils. You're best off getting virgin olive oil made in a single country. When you look at the bottle, when you go to Kroger's, you look at a bottle, it says source from, and it gives you 10 countries. There's a really big opportunity for people to put stuff in there. And you might read about how you put it in the refrigerator, and certain one, the virgin versus the fake ones have either stay liquid or solid. That's not definitely proven, so I don't think you can rely on that. Helpful, but not reliable. But the extra virgin olive oil sourced from a single country, I buy mine, made in California, but you can get extra virgin oil from other countries. Leafy greens, legumes, nuts, high grains, whole grains are better, obviously, and fish and poultry. And I recommend low-fat meat, which typically would be a low-fat cut of meat, but beneficially a grass-fed meat. They typically have a lot less fat in them, particularly grass-finished. So when you read grass-fed meat, the question was, did they finish it with grain? They give the cows grains before they slaughter them to make them fat, to make them diabetics, basically, to fatten them up. Because people like to fatten their meat, but the fat is obviously, there's a link between fat and certain diseases, diabetes and heart disease. So I get Piedmontese beef, which is grass-finished and grass-fed. That has actually less fat than most chicken. So you can enjoy the beef with having a very low fat. There are other beef that are low fat as well, but that's my favorite one. And I try to live a Mediterranean diet. We buy meals for our staff at Allure, and we use the Mediterranean diet. It's very healthy for your family, for your team. So I didn't really want to do a podcast or a talk on diets because it's very, very controversial, and people are militants about the diet that they're using. And I'm not suggesting that this is the only diet that's beneficial for you, but from a population basis, the Mediterranean diet is the most effective. You can experiment with the keto diet or carnivore diet. I can't imagine eating a carnivore diet. I know that's very difficult. It probably is a food elimination diet because most foods that people are sensitive to are going to be something other than meat. For the most part, you can say you get most of your nutrients eating meat, but there is a link to excessive consumption of meat and cancer and cardiovascular disease. So we're sticking with the Mediterranean diet. You make your own decisions. Not a strong proponent of the keto diet other than for short-term weight loss. It does seem to work for that. And I'm not a proponent of the vegan diet because even though it's a very healthy diet, very hard in Western society to be on a vegan diet. I did it for about 2 years, and it was kind of like a social outcast anywhere I went. Where are you getting your protein from? Where are you getting this from? People think you're somebody that's on PETA or something, where my case was just because I wanted to reduce cardiovascular disease. And it did work great in terms of lowering my cholesterol, but I found it really wasn't a sustainable diet, even though I think that's a very good diet if you so choose it. So that's my thoughts on it from a doctor standpoint, treating thousands of patients working on losing their weight. And I think getting multiple sources, even trying different diets to see what works for you. There's no good testing to tell you which diet will work for you the best. But you could do a continuous glucose monitor device that something goes in your arm, measure your blood sugar all the time, check your hemoglobin A1C and your cardiovascular lipids, and see how these things change based on what you're eating. So thank you very much.